Ciao, everyone. Buona domenica. Buona Palma. I'm Esther.
La Festa della Palma is today.
And what's your
I'm
name?
Alfredo. Nice to see you this week. Nice to see you.
I hope everyone.
Thank you for coming along with us.
You know, one of the great things, I love this community that we have established here on YouTube. We love seeing you no matter what day you're watching, but if it is a Sunday, hope you're having a great one. And look what we got. That Palma, look at how beautiful this is. It's handmade. There's vendors all over Sicily selling these right now. And inside is a little olive branch. Isn't that beautiful?
Is that an olive branch or is that a laurel?
It's an olive branch. Aren't they beautiful? All right, so what else do we have going on? Yesterday...
Wait a minute, I want to talk about that.
Oh, talk about the Palma. Go ahead.
They have some really intricate ones, but what we like to do is we like to give to people who like really need the money, and those would be the people on the side of the road that make these things up. So we stop our car as much as possible, okay, and do business and make a donation to them, and I think they appreciate it.
They appreciate it.
Yeah.
So this one over here is like $2.50, and they have the smaller ones, but all types of shapes. And I just love the details in these, right?
The lady was about 642 years old.
That's 640.
I'm telling you right now, she
exactly.
was like a 17th century. That's how old she was.
It was cool.
But hey, what are you going to do?
All right. The other thing we got is a very typical food here for Palma, and that is the cuddura cull'ova in Sicilian. How do you say this? And this one is shaped like a dove, and it's a biscuit, and there's 2 eggs in it, right?
Well,
and
hold it up again for one second.
Wait a second. I want to show this
we
one because they have all types of
them.
shapes. Here's another one.
Little
in
bunny
plastic,
rabbit.
Little bunny rabbit.
We'll save that.
Now, Alfred, you said
hold it up one more time.
You said your mom makes
we
it
have
a little
jimmies
different.
on it. We have colored jimmies on it. Can you imagine
And
that?
look at that beautiful flower too. Huh?
And there's a flower on it.
Hey, I want to know if you guys do this in your home, if you have a tradition of making these. Now, what do these taste like? Wait.
It tastes a lot better in the States. You know why?
Why?
Because
it's a biscotti.
It's a biscotti, but if you see how thin this is, the ones in the States are thicker.
How did your mom make them?
Thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. She used to make
and
them.
what kind of shape did she use?
Like you see this? Like I'm biting it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
it's too hard.
Yeah.
It's a biscotti.
You have to dunk this in coffee.
That's going to be delicious, huh?
Yeah.
But these are handmade. Again, about
they're good to look at.
They're beautiful. Much. And then here's another one. This is made out of marzipan, pasta reale. Aren't these beautiful?
I was going to take a bite out of that.
It's super, super, super sweet. I don't know if you've had any marzipan or pasta reale, but
it's
this
shaped
one,
like a sheep.
Lamb.
A lamb, but I think Peter would object if
Why?
I did that. So we're not going to even. Are you going to take the plastic off it?
Are you going to taste it?
No.
You're going to have a huge sugar high.
What we're going to do right after the show.
What are we going to do after the show?
For those people who are like really into animals and stuff like that, we're going to release it into the wild.
You're nuts. All right, here's the other thing. Look what Alfred got me. My favorite flower, sunflower.
Sunflowers are out right now.
They're just started coming out, and I'm so happy because it's my favorite flower.
Sunflower. They're in New England, believe it or not, by Merrimack River in Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts. There's actually a huge place where people go now to look at the sunflower fields. Okay. Mm-hmm. The only other place that I've seen that was more beautiful, in my view, is the Netherlands. The Netherlands has one.
Oh, yeah.
The Netherlands has tulips and they have sunflowers.
Right now, the tulips are out too. The red tulips.
Yeah, they. I think it's May 8th is when they, is when they harvest the tulips. You know what they do with the tulips over there? They turn them into the ground. They cut them and then they turn them back in. They're more interested in the bulbs more than because they export them.
All right, we have one more show and tell, and then we're going to talk about immigration from Sicily to Agrigento.
Wait a minute.
Say Agrigento. Wait a sec. Argentina. Then we're going to talk about a famous Sicilian from our neck of the woods, and and we're going to talk about the popes, right? What are you having, Alfred Zeppela?
I have a little bit of an upset stomach today because I actually ate a Sicilian hamburger. I mean, those cows from the Sicilian hamburgers, they're run to death, all right? They're not so good, okay? I mean, being spoiled on beef in the States, you know, that has marbling on it and you cook it on the
And this
grill.
one had cheese in it too.
It just wasn't, as soon as I ate it, I said.
And then we had peppers and onions too, right?
Yeah, but so anyways, what this is, I'm going to hold it up for you so you can see it. This is what is known as a digestive. And I'm sure if Jimmy's around, he knows the Averna. Amato, Averna. The word Amato means bitters. It's a
good after dinner
herbal digestive for when you eat a lot or your stomach isn't so good. You have a little glass of this. Those are all herbs in here, and you sip it. It's an acquired taste. I mean, you're not going to just like swing it right down, but.
And some people make this at home, right? Because sometimes we go to restaurants and after dinner they'll bring out their version of it.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me just finish this thing. Every region in Italy has their own amato. Okay.
Like
so Sicilians like the Averna, but there's also others within Sicily that are very good. Okay, Calabria is good. Up in Naples is good. So every region has their own, and that's pretty much what they have that on their table. And after you have Sunday dinner or whatever, they'll put the bottle right over there. Some people put it over ice, but the vast majority of people just keep it in the refrigerator and serve it cold with no ice. Good. So it's a good thing. Okay.
All right, one last one. You know what these are? Fava beans. Fava beans are very popular right now. Look how big this one. So what you do is you open it up, right? Be seated. And you know what? This was the first meal I had here in Sicily when I came here in 2014. This is what they look like. Yeah, in 2014, you made me, for my first meal, you made me a fava bean stew. Want to give the recipe out?
Yeah, just 1 second. Right now, fava, that's the first bean crop that's out. And also the strawberries.
The strawberries.
We bought our first strawberries off. She was saying, yeah, but they're the first ones out. I'm telling you right now, they were sweet and delicate.
I said, don't buy them. They're the first one. They're not going to be that sweet.
€1.50 for a tray. They were terrific. But what I do with the favas is I buy, sometimes I'm lazy and I'll have the lady shuck them for me. And you can buy a kilo and that'll yield a half a pound. Or you could just shuck them yourself. I don't like to shuck them. It's a pain in the neck. It takes a long time.
It's so therapeutic.
My grandmother used to do it. She used to put it on a mapina. You know what a mapina is? The apron. Okay. So what you do is you get those little guys and you put them in a pan, like a soup pan, and you put in there peas. I use frozen peas, and then I use onion. Okay, 3 items, and then you cover it with water just to the top, not of the pan, but of whatever the vegetables are, that's it. And you put it on a medium heat. You add in a little bit of salt and pepper.
Pepper flakes?
No, I don't. No. I'm talking about the traditional way. Salt and pepper and EVOO. And then you bring it to a boil, but then you put it on a low boil for about 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you shut it off.
And then how do you serve it?
Well, you serve it, as they say in Sicilian, tepido. Mm-hmm. Tepid. It's not a hot, and it's really not a soup so much as it
stew. I said stew.
It's a stew.
And you put Parmesan cheese, right?
Parmesan cheese on top of it.
And a little olive oil.
Mm-hmm. And it's off the charts healthy for you. I'm telling you right now.
Look, Al. Look.
I can see you, honey. I can see you right in the monitor here. But seriously, if you look at the health benefits of fava, okay? Yeah. You know that, right? They did like boom. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of parsley on top of it, too.
Oh, yes, for sure. Parsley.
Yep.
All right. Shall we say hello to some people? Yeah. Joe and Sue. Jim Ingram is here. Gioia Russo. Buongiorno. Gioia. And if I skipped your name, I apologize. Kathleen is here. Mary Crow. Alicia. Let's see, North Carolina. Joy, are you watching from North Carolina? Where are you guys watching from? No, we have some New Jersey, some, hey, Manny Palazzo, make sure you send me your address.
We need your address, Manny.
So Alfred can send you his books.
Yep.
Manny just made a very generous donation to our GoFundMe. So thank you for that, Manny. Pat Greeley's here. Julie Demers is here from Canada. Last week I said England. I don't know why. Why am I singing? I don't know. Anne Marie is here. Pat Greeley. Christine Leone is here with our olive tree. You want to talk about the olive tree a little bit?
I think we have, wait a minute, don't we have a new little grove that we picked up
we
this
have
week?
one in Montedoro and one in Palermo, in Chapala.
So now we have another province, right? We have another province, right?
Oh, yeah. Ciao, everyone. Be sure to check out Esther Nelford's wonderful video on Palm Sunday shopping in Sicily. Very well done. Yeah, that store, right? It's in our playlist of recently added
We just added it yesterday.
Frank and Christine are here. Good morning. Happy Palm Sunday. Rainy day here in New York. Happy Sunday.
Wait a minute. I want to just say something to Christine.
Yeah.
Christine, I saw that picture of your son, Frankie, with his graduation. The kid is getting ginormous, huh? But do me a favor. Take that kid and get him a haircut. I feel like sending him a bunch of curlers, for heaven's sake.
Stop it.
No, he's a good, beautiful looking boy.
Andrew Parisi says, my mom used to make little crosses out of them to give to all the children. Oh, that's so beautiful.
I made one last year.
You did make one.
Yeah, we still have it. Hey, wait a minute. Getting back to Palms for a second.
Wait a second. Good morning from North Carolina. Someone wanted a recipe, and if I am sorry if I skipped it. Do you want the recipe for the cuddura? Let me know. Roseanne is here. Let me see.
Rosanna.
Jennifer Peterson
You make the
is
Easter
here.
bread,
Sunflowers are my absolute favorite too. Joseph Petit. Alessandro Gennaro is
Okay, what
here.
do we got to do?
He's from Milan.
Why don't you just
He's here
stop
from
after a while and then do a bunch more? Let's talk about stuff.
Can we just say hi to
This
B and
is
Dean?
like you reading out of a dictionary.
Well, listen, we want to recognize our live people. All right, I'll tell you what. Why don't you talk about Agrigento next?
Wait a minute. Before I talk about anything, I want to tell you how to dispose of palms.
Oh,
this is crucially important.
Okay, go.
All right, palms. You don't just take them, last year's palms, and throw them in the dumpster, okay? You don't do that. Why? Because they're a blessed item, all right?
Mm-hmm.
All the palms in the church have been blessed by somebody. The Catholic Church recommends that you do this. Either bring them back to the church where they can, burn them and use them again next year, or burn them yourself, okay? And that's what we do. And then with the ashes, you could spread them, I guess. I don't know, but I think it's important that's a relic, from dust to, what is it? What does he say? What does the priest say? Does he say from dust thou art and dust thou shall return or something like that? So it's important that you have to reflect on today. And also today was the day, not that I'm going to pontificate it all, but, Jesus rode into Jerusalem today to the platitudes of, tens of thousands of people. Hosanna, Hosanna, and all that stuff. And then 5 days later, he was nailed up to the cross. So that kind of shows you the fickleness of people. Okay?
Yeah.
Because the same people that were yelling, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest, right? The next day they were yelling, 4 days later, crucify him, crucify him.
How do you do this? What do you do?
Like this in Sicilian, due facce di medaglione, okay? Two faces of the medallion. And that's what the story is. But today kicks off a profoundly important week.
And it's a really important week here in Sicily and all over Italy. There's processions. Well, usually normal times there are processions. We did an entire video episode on Easter in Sicily, and we went to Etna for the Good Friday procession. And someone made a comment about how scary it looked because the men were walking around hooded, right? But that goes back hundreds of years to the Spanish era.
Goes back to the 5th century, for heaven's sakes.
Even back.
Don't talk to me about cultural appropriation about that, okay? I don't want to hear about that. The Spanish had it here for 500 years, okay? Basically, the hooded, what do they call the hooded penitents? They wear those masks, the hoods, because they think that as sinners, they're not worthy to have God look at them. That's what the history of those things are.
It's a very solemn procession, very beautiful, and they have the fratelli, the brothers, and different congregations have different robes. It's remarkable. If you get a chance, I'll put a link to that video.
My friend Rosanna was telling us that Caltanissetta, at some point in time, Rosanna, I'm going to go to Caltanissetta Good Friday. I want to see what they're doing down in Caltanissetta. I heard.
Oh yeah, that's right. She said
I
that
heard
there's
it's just
a
as
big one.
wonderful too.
Also, there's a big one in Shaka. So they're actually
She made
all
the
over.
dough. Elena made the dough. Hey, there you go. Huh?
Dough for Pascha.
I
Awesome.
like to have the dough, the biscotti dough, a little bit thicker and a little bit softer myself, like almost like a cookie. So I think you could probably do any type of biscotti recipe you want, and you put the eggs in there. But I don't like them hard. Like, I mean, I'm going to eat this.
Now, want to know
I'll eat
something very interesting? In the olden days, it was tradition that the young ladies gave one of these to men, fertility, right? And there's a very similar tradition in Hungary.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
Gave the bunny rabbit for fertility? I can see that.
There's a very similar tradition in Hungary where the girls paint eggs and they give them to the boys. And then the boys run after them, try to catch them and spray them with some perfume. So
you know what we should do in Lawrence?
What?
With eggs? We should throw them. That's what we used to do.
Jim, you're right. The most beautiful and solemn procession of all. I agree with you.
Jim, I'm telling you one thing. I apologize that we never took you to Via Grande to Elfio's shop.
Can you believe that?
I was shocked when I read that. The first thing we're going to do when you come here, Jimmy, is I'm taking you there, okay? Forget her. I'll take her. Just you and I will take her.
Pat Galfano says it's our 50th anniversary today. Pat and Anthony, congratulations.
30th and 50th anniversary?
50th anniversary. That's very cool.
God bless you.
All right, listen, on that note, why don't we start out with, you want to start out with Agrigento or the Popes? Agrigento, Argentina.
What are you talking about?
About immigration.
Okay, we're talking about, last few weeks I've talked about immigration from Canada. Where else have I talked about it?
Brazil.
I was Australia,
about
right?
That number you gave us last week about
But
Sao Paulo.
the biggest 500-pound gorilla, even bigger than Brazil, happens to be in Argentina. If you can believe that, where 75% of the population, 75%, has some type of Italian blood in them.
That's remarkable.
According to the Italian government, 75%. Okay, they came in 2 waves. They came in right after the Revolution of 1860 here, but the big one was right after World War II. You had 2 different waves coming in, settling around. Well, the biggest city there is Buenos Aires in Argentina, settling around there. And the first group kind of went into, they were from the north, okay? But over time, people from the south, Campania, Calabria, Naples, and Sicily went in there for agricultural purposes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It is an intense country, okay? They're doing very well,
Mm-hmm.
okay? They've completely integrated. As a matter of fact, you know what they call people of Italian descent there in Argentina? They call them Tanos. Why?
Why?
Because the group that came over from Naples was known as Napolitanos, right? So they call all Italians, not in a derogatory sense, Tanos, okay? And there's a bunch of really famous people of Italian descent from Argentina. Like, for example, the guy who designed the Argentinian flag, he's Italian. They've had unbelievable soccer players. They've had architects. Yeah. They've had, you name it, they've had it. But who's the most famous? Who's the most famous of them all? Estebansta.
Tell me.
The Pope. Pope Francis. He's from Argentina.
Good one, Alfred.
Can you believe that? He's a Jesuit priest from Argentina.
Thanks for that.
First South American Pope. So if you add up the people from Argentina that have Italian blood, you add up the people from Brazil of Italian blood, you add up the people from Canada of Italian blood,
incredible
you
number.
Add up the people of Australia from Italian blood. Like I've been saying to you, there's more outside than inside.
It's remarkable.
Then why does the Italian government break chops with all this nonsense about how making it so difficult and making you wait so long to reclaim your citizen is a joke. It's terrible and it's pathetic. And that's really why I wanted to show you that the Italians could do something about it. They could do something about it. They want to change their economy around. There's tens of billions of dollars out there by Italian Americans, Canadian Americans, Australian, Italians, or whatever the hell they're called over there, to go back to Italy instead of what's happening over there. Whoop. Who's that? My son?
No.
Your son.
My mom. I don't have a son.
Oh, that's right.
Wait a sec. First of all, Elena,
Anyways,
thank you. Elena, thank you for that super chat. Appreciate it very much.
What's your question?
Was there a question you want us to answer? Let me know.
Elena who? Does she get a set of books?
Elena Salerno made a super chat.
Does she get a set of books?
Alessandro, a lot of people from Piedmont and north of Italy moved to...
That's exactly correct. They did. Exactly.
Now, listen,
Alessandro, you're 100%. That was one of the first groups to go over there.
Maria from Hungary says, I can vouch for that. I'm Hungarian. It's such a fun tradition, isn't it?
What?
The painting of the eggs, giving it to the boys, and then they run after you and try to spray you with some
My mom
perfume.
used to color the eggs. The big thing on the night before was to get remember those little egg coloring things with the little wire hooks, and you'd dip them in the colored water. Did you ever do that as a kid? Right.
Of course.
And then
I
afterwards,
used to love painting eggs.
Then my father would tape money onto them, like from 5 cents to 25 cents, and then he'd hide them in the house. I mean, did you ever do that too?
No.
We did that too.
Your Easter hunt?
Easter hunt, right.
Easter hunt, that's right.
I'll tell you, my son Matthew, he always used to get lost. You could never find any. Jennifer, my oldest daughter, would always find. Then finally we stopped it. It was getting to be like Jennifer had all the money, Matthew only had a couple of bucks. But whatever. But does your family still do that? You do an Easter egg hunt? I don't know if they even still do that.
Okay. Julie says, not a drop of Italian in our bloodline, investigating Italian residency. Esther suggested school, but not sold on that idea. What else can be done? Looking at buying property.
Well, if the property is expensive enough, and you have a few bucks, then you could probably buy your way in with the golden parachute thing that they have. They have a special program for that. But you ought to check out the elective residency way to go. Whereas if you have income of, from savings, pensions and so forth, over $40,000 a year, you can petition them, and it can be done online, by the way. You have to show them your bank statements and all this other, why you want to come. You have to write an essay and all this other nonsense.
They make it so difficult. Why?
Because they're idiots.
Okay.
They're bureaucratic idiots, okay? They're elitist, bureaucratic idiots who have their nose up in the air while they're broke, okay? This country is broke. They're so broke, they can't pay attention. That's how broke they are.
Frank says, I found cousins from Agrigento on Facebook.
No, listen, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
It's Argentina.
Argentina.
You keep on saying Agrigento.
The shock I got when I found them was amazing. I'm so happy my father got to see that. Oh, that's beautiful.
I've never been to Argentina. I know that under the Juan Perón regime, post-World War II, he opened the doors up to a lot of Nazis. I know that. There was a lot of Germans who went there. And guess what? A lot of these Italians that went in after the Second World War, they were fascist. Okay, there were a lot of fascists over there. Now they want to come back. Okay, I don't know why, but
a lot of people wanting to come back.
Hey, another interesting tidbit I learned in my research. Remember the Falkland Island War?
Yes.
Okay, that's where the little island out there off the coast was invaded by there's a territorial dispute between England and Argentina. Okay, over possession of that. It was a pretty bloody war too.
Yeah.
It was short but sweet, but bloody. The guy that was the commanding general of all the Argentine forces, the supreme comandante de tutte, was an Italian guy. Now I'm saying to myself, they had just gotten their ass kicked in the Second World War. Why are they picking an Italian general? They had the worst generals during the Second World War. That's what the problem was. It wasn't the soldiers. The soldiers were heroic. The soldiers had no air cover, right? The generals stunk. They were terrible. So anyways, one of the guys went to Argentina No wonder they got beat.
Listen, Mary Crow wants to say she's having trouble finding grandparents' naturalization because she's adopted. That I can see that being
Wait a
an
minute.
issue.
Wait a minute. Grandparents. Wait a minute. I don't understand what the whole issue is.
She's being adopted didn't help. I'm having trouble finding my grandparents' naturalization papers.
You have to write to National Archives. It's simple.
Fred McNeil also made a very generous donation. Thank you. And he's trying to get here.
I love that guy.
He's trying to get here too in a few months. Helen says, my grandfather's brother moved to Argentina.
Thank you.
The other siblings except one moved to Canada, which is another one that we spoke about last week. When he came to visit in the 70s, the cops stopped him because he had long hair. Okay.
Well, that kind of makes sense in the 70s. That doesn't make any sense. I had long hair.
Tim says, I was blessed that my grandfather did naturalization until 3 months after my father was born, letting me qualify.
By the skin of your teeth, but you did it. So what? You did it.
Janet Lombardi's here from
Hi,
England.
Jan.
So the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is, last week we did, Alfred did some movies, right?
Cinema Paradiso.
Which, by the way, was directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, who is from Bulgaria. And that was the episode that we just published last week. Lots of famous
Seduced
people.
and Abandoned was another one. That's free on YouTube, by the way. Somebody watch it on YouTube.
He did another
for free.
movie called Baria, which portrayed a person coming to Bulgaria in the 1930s. And some of the Cinema Paradiso was not only set in Bulgaria, but also scenes from Cefalù, Castelbuono, some other places. So this week, I want to
explain about
I want to talk about someone local who's very famous. Giovanni Verga is from Catania.
There you go.
Giovanni Verga wrote I Malavoglia, and it's a book, fascinating book, that is set in our little town down the hill at Citrezza, and it's based on a fishing village, and it's a story about fishermen. And the fun thing is that he used, when the movie was made, right, by, what's his name, Visconti. What's his first name? Visconti, it'll come to Luchino Visconti did the movie La Terra Trema. They used locals in the movie. And there's one restaurant, and I believe Sue and Joe, we took you guys there the first time you came here, where there are scenes from the movie inside the restaurant, and the owner's wife was an extra. So it's such a fun thing. So I highly recommend that book. It portrays local life here. Giovanni was, I believe, in the 1870s. He wrote that. And
it was
the
a
book,
depressing time to be in Sicily. You cannot
And it showed the
sugarcoat.
hardships of being a fisherman, of that daily grind of going out there in the middle of the night. Some days you catch something, some days you don't. In fact, you remember the festival of San Giovanni Battista down in Citrezza. They do this rendition. They do where they portray the life of a fisherman, and every time they catch a fish, they write "Rico, Rico, I'm rich," and then one day they don't catch anything, and they're walking around crying. So the life of a fisherman, because a lot of fishermen, obviously here in Sicily, was portrayed in that movie.
Let me tell you something. All right.
Yeah.
Why do you think Sicilians immigrated? Why do you think they left?
Poverty, natural disaster, famine, and seeking a better future.
There was nothing here in the late 19th century, between 1880 and 1910. It was devastation in Sicily, okay? Between an influenza outbreak that annihilated people, an earthquake, and just the general economic conditions. Looking at pictures of Via Grande and Tre Castagni, it looked like those pictures you saw of Daniel Boone in the Wild West. Nothing was paved. The only thing that was there was some cow paths, right? And you look at those pictures, and then today you see houses, selling for 350, 400,000 euro.
They traveled around in carts, right? Selling carts by donkeys, and and horses.
That's why that movie, the opera Cavaliere Rustica, is very important culturally for you. That was a story about the guide to redo and Alfione, blah, blah, blah. But the whole thing was the guy was making a little bit of money because he had a cart. And he was going back and forth delivering stuff with his cart. Those carts, those Sicilian carts, were really important just to get things. Look what Peter Messina said about the story. His father, when Peter was here, his father used to send Ray to Catania to get some supplies with a donkey. And the donkey happened to know how to get to Catania and back because they watered him and fed him once he got there. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Imagine going to Catania from Via Grande in a donkey, like about 15 miles, a young kid. Believe me, it was tough. And I want to say something to you, too. One last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting out of the winter here with these houses, okay, that are made of concrete. There's not a stick of insulation here, okay? Concrete and reinforced tire rods in there, right? These damn houses are freezing cold. Cold.
Yeah.
We have to put the heat on. And then to compound the issue is Etna. And I love Etna. But let me tell you something. This week, we had 2 of our rooms completely destroyed by Etna. Now, how did Etna destroy our rooms? Very simple. It blew a lot of ash. As you know, it's blown ash all over the place. The ash collected up on the roof, okay? Then we had torrential downpours last week.
For 3 days.
3 days. The rain washed the ash off the roof, clogged up all the drainage pipes, causing the water to come into not only my house, but my friend's house next door and a guy over there.
And the walls are destroyed.
The whole wall, the walls are okay, but there's not a speck of paint on the walls.
And it's still falling.
And it's still,
So one day I'm sweeping up black ash.
Yeah.
The next day I'm sweeping up white stuff from the white paint.
So there is a certain amount of sacrifice that you make. Now, I'm trying to investigate once I get this damn thing fixed, especially the roof. Is there such a thing as an oil-based paint that, you know, if you slap it on the wall, it's not going to fall off? I never saw such a thing in my life.
Something to look into. Elena says, ciao, you too. I have a small travel agency. Go to Italy, often Italy. My
That's your specialty. Hi,
my
Elena.
famous from Piana dell'Albanese. Can't wait to come home. Elena, we did an entire episode on Piana dell'Albanese. And they have the most incredible cannolis, I must say that.
It's the nicest town. Elena, that town is
Province
so
of
clean, you can
Palermo.
eat off the ground, okay? The people are just unbelievable. It's, what is it, Greek Orthodox?
Yes.
It's Greek Orthodox primarily. The signs are in Italian and also Albanian, right?
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Just, and then the costume.
And they talk, you know, they have a beautiful Greek Orthodox procession there when the women dress up in all these beautiful,
It's a great town.
handmade
It's a great town.
uniforms.
And what's the other one too? This with the we just
went to another one.
There's
that
another
I'll
town
think
that's
about it.
assisted.
Was it No, it wasn't
San Giovanni.
No.
There's another town. We'll
San
think of it.
Giovanni maybe.
Yeah, was that it?
Frank McNeil says, what's a festival they run the plank to grab the flag and most end up in the sea? I seen video of it in Shepaloo. Looks like
Not
a lot
only,
of
yeah,
fun.
there's several of them that have it. Let me tell you the big one, okay? The big one is in Marzamini, okay?
Yeah.
And let me just go over that for you. It'll take a couple seconds. Is that okay?
Mhm.
In May and June is when the tuna, the small bluefin tuna used to run, okay? And they would go right by Marzamini, ginormous schools, okay? And what the tuna fishermen used to do, they had set up a whole industry of planning to catch these guys, kill them and catch them, and then, you know, sell the tuna, process them right there in Marzamini, and then sell the tuna all over, you know, Italy. And the day that they did that, they called it the mazzata. That means the killing, okay? Where the men would go into the waters. They would have these huge nets, right? They would, the bluefin would run right into the nets, get all tangled up in them, and then with these huge hooks, they would kill them, and then put them on, you know, drag them onto the land where they were then processed. They did that over here. They did it in Shaka. They did
Castellamare,
Castellamare as
and
well.
it's a very, very dangerous job, right? And the woman that there's in the castle in Castellammare del Golfo, there's the museum, right? And they show old footage of the women staying back and praying for their husbands, their sons, their brothers to come back safely. That's how dangerous it is.
To make a long story short, the United Nations had to step in because those schools of Tuna, they were getting annihilated. And over the years, the UN stepped in, and fortunately, they stopped the Mitzvah. All right.
Yeah.
But for those of you, so they had all these different types of celebrations. One was the greasy pole thing. As a matter of fact, in Shaka they had it. And if you go to Gloucester, Massachusetts, for the Feast of St. Peter, for the blessing of the feast, they copied that. And in Massachusetts, in Gloucester, I don't know exactly when, they have that greasy pole there too as well.
Yeah. Christine said, found a wonderful Trinacria ceramic disc and antique Sicilian map at a estate sale in Connecticut, along with my Sicilian cookbooks. Speaking of Sicilian cookbooks,
many Sicilian cookbooks.
Speaking of cookbooks, today is the last day to submit your recipe to our cookbook that's going to be coming out in the spring, and it's going to be all Sicilian recipes. So I'm very excited. Now, there was, let's see, Anne Marie says, my family in Trapani held the highest position called Rai. Father and son held this position in the Tonara de Ongia, which is now a luxury hotel.
I actually went to a very private ceremony prior to the celebration in Mazamani 8 years ago. It was pretty religious too. I couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. And by the way, still to this day, that neck of the woods has the best tuna in all of Sicily. Yeah. Mazamani, it's just unbelievable.
All the fish there, absolutely. Dennis says there are a lot of Sicilians with the last name Albanese, a lot of history there. Yeah, because during the Ottoman Empire, during the persecution 500 years ago, lots of them came down south. They settled in places like Calabria, many in Sicily. So there is a huge population. I know what it is. Mezzogiusto.
Mezzogiusto, that's what I thought.
Mezzogiusto. That's the other big Albanian one, along with Piana Albanese. And I think there's one other, and I'm not.
You're right, there is one other.
But it's so interesting, like we were saying, they also speak Albanian language and I'm not talking about the current Albanian language, the ancient Albanian language that they learned 500 years ago, which of course has changed. And they also brought their Albanian Greek Orthodox traditions. So it's fascinating. And wait a sec. And to going back to the cannoli, the story in Piana Albanese is that the cannoli already existed here, of course, because the Arabs brought it here. But in Piana d'Albanese, the owner of the store, of the cafe, where there was literally, remember, a foot-long cannoli on display, he said, when we came here, the Albanians, we just perfected it, the cannoli.
Well, there was a couple things that happened. First of all, let me get back to, Mussolini. He actually legitimized a little bit the place that they were living.
Last weekend in June.
Okay. Thanks, St. Peter's. Thank you, Bern. Thank you. But Mussolini was the guy that granted people from Piana dell'Albanese to stay there permanently. They had been persecuted prior to that. So under the fascist regime, they actually did that to several groups of Albanians. Okay, they really did. And what was the other thing now that there was something else I wanted to say. And
before it was called Piana delle Greci.
Of Greece.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he changed the name to Albanese, which is fascinating. A blessed Palm Sunday in sunny South Florida to all.
Hi.
Here, this is a good question. How do you keep your apartment warm? 2 ways. Well, first of all, we have the big doors and the windows that open them up, but we have a heater, right? We don't put it on very often, but we have a heater.
Listen.
I walk around the house with a hat on, gloves, jacket.
You want to know about keeping your house warm? I'm going to tell you right now. By law, okay, you can't turn your heat on until November 15th. So if it's chilly in October and you turn it on, see, they read the meters and they'll fine you.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
After November 15th, you can put it on, but you have to have it set low. Why? For a lot of reasons. Most importantly is it costs a mint to heat a house, okay? Especially that's like, you know, a sieve, okay? But you have to shut it off during the daytime, okay? You can till 5:30 in the morning. It can go back on again. From 11 o'clock at night to 5:30 in the morning, it has to go off, okay? It's a pain in the neck. Believe me when I tell you. And they check the meters and they send you bills and so forth, and you can get fined if you do it. I'm fortunate because there's only her and I got one of those air conditioning units that's a combination air conditioner and heater.
And fan.
That's run on electricity. So we close our doors in the whole house, and then we put on the heating unit until we fall asleep. And then when I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll shut it down. But thank God we have that. Okay, we have radiators in the house, you know, good radiators. And I have a good system too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about it.
Wait,
But
I want to talk to you about
we're depending, let me just finish my thought.
I want to talk to you about your system.
We're depending upon natural gas that comes from Russia. Okay, so we'll get a bill and it'll say usage of gas, $30, 30 euro. Transportation from Russia, 50 euro. Okay, so they have broken up. Then you have the VAT, and you have like, you know,
That is like the tax.
by the time you're all finished out, it's like 185, 200 euro in the wintertime.
Ciao, Joe Vitelli. Hello,
Hi,
Esther
Joe.
and Alfred. Palm Sunday to both of you. If you're just
Joe.
joining in, we talked about this. Look at these beautiful Palm Sundays. If you're just joining us now, we talked about them before. Also, I just want to show this. Oh, where's my cuddura? Want another piece?
No, I have this little piece.
In case you guys were coming in late, look at the cuddura cull'ova. Cuddura cull'ova, handmade. Very nice. What is
Hi, Joe.
What is considered warm temperature in your house?
68.
Well, we get around 60. Someone else said that
That's
it's
hot.
very expensive to.
Yeah, it is very. We
By
walk
the way-
around. You see these things over here that I have on? It's like a heavy duty. I don't know what it is. Sweaters over. I always have this on in the house. I have a T-shirt on. I never wore T-shirts before I came to Sicily. Can you believe that?
No,
In New England, I never wore a T-shirt. Over here, I'm like a T-shirt. I buy insulated flannel house pads. Did you even know that they had insulated flannel house pads? I sleep with flannel, like those things that you buy at wherever you call it, Walmart there, the flannel ones, the lounge pants.
Mm-hmm.
She's all bundled up. She has things around her neck.
I have a shawl, a hat, all that stuff. Now, I want to tell you guys what
Where is your
Alfred
shawl?
does. I took it off.
Oh.
I want to tell you guys what Alfred does because here's a little house secret. He does the washing. Yes, my man Alfred does the washing. And when he washes the clothes, because we don't have a dryer. People do, but mostly people hang their clothes out, right? On hangers, or you'll be driving down and everyone has their clothes hanging from the railing. But what Alfred does is he takes the clothes and meticulously puts them on all the heaters. A little bit of steam comes out, and so when after a couple of hours, they are nice and warm. So I love that.
Plus, it throws out moisture too. I'll tell you, my grandmother.
That's what I said.
Our place over on Orchard Street, and my grandmother's place in Lawrence on Orchard Street, she had steam heat, and that's what she did.
I love
and
that.
Guess what? I do it too. I don't. Yes, sir.
Okay. Huh?
We have right to my left, about 3 feet away, is my.
This is what we. This is.
I
what,
did a couple of loads of laundry right there.
There you
They're
go.
just drying. That's it. Tonight, if I put the heater on, they'll be 3/4 of the way dry. I'll just throw them on the, what do you call it, for
I
an
love
hour
that.
or two.
So Joya says I'm always cold. Me too. And how's the quality of blankets and sheets? Great.
How's the what?
The quality of blankets and sheets? Great.
Wrong.
The blankets?
The ones I brought from America are good.
Well,
She
you don't have
sleeps-
those fluffy
they
ones.
stink.
What
Stop. Unless you want to. Let me tell you something.
if you go
okay?
to IKEA, you can get good
Let me
stuff.
tell you something, all right?
Your stuff is old
The best stuff for blankets,
too. Mhm.
okay, is Eddie Bauer, Abercrombie and Finch, or LL Bean. You want good stuff?
Listen,
You spend money.
downtown
Over here,
Catania,
You
they
can
have
get.
those.
Let me tell you something, Esther. Believe me, you go to any place at all, you get a towel. You step out of a shower with an Italian towel. You dry yourself. It's still wet. I'm like, what's going on?
And they're a little bit rough. Same
Over the
in
years,
Hungary.
I brought over, blanket, a blanket, a blanket, a blanket, a blanket. So now I have maybe 4 or 5 American blankets here.
The comforters are different too.
Comforters stink here. There's no such thing as down. You can find them, but you got to pay a mint.
Well,
you got to pay a mint.
You can find them.
Nowadays with Amazon, thank God Amazon. But guess what? The only one that has stuff is Amazon UK. And now since they're getting kicked out of the European Union, you have to pay a ginormous customs tax to get stuff in.
And there's a huge backlog, the delays, this whole Brexit thing. That's another topic.
It's 3 months of that. That's
Andrew wants to know, are there any foreigners, expats living around? Lots of expats in Sicily.
There's
large. There's a group called Expats in Sicily, and there's people there from Germany, from Poland, Hungary. I mean, it's a very vibrant.
And we all have the same complaints.
You.
I'm like the leader of
I call him the complainer in chief.
I complain.
He is the complainer in chief.
I don't care about it.
Period.
I complain.
End of sentence.
What are they going to do? Kick me out of the country?
You just like to complain.
I like to complain. You're right.
Every day there's a complaint. Al, that's a great way all utilities work. Gas is cheap, but the transmission and other fees make it costly.
It's crazy, huh, Pat?
Let's see. What else?
You can't even buy shares into it.
Stefania's here. She's our
because you know why? Because they're nationalized. Stefania.
Buongiorno, Bonaparte. Stefania, look what I bought down there. And the bread guy by us, Stefania, look. Giovanni down the road. He's probably out by now. Or wait a second, it's closed. It's 4:45. I want to know what Stefania, what traditional things are you cooking today for the Festa Palma? Really want to know. Okay. Sorry, Al. All the best are Pendleton from Oregon. Okay.
You know something? I agree with you. From Oregon, Esther, you're gonna have to take a remedial reading course for Christ's sake. I get better glasses.
As far as the Linda Littlefield said, as far as the pain problem goes, get Sherwin-Williams Extreme Strain Block. Not in Sicily.
That's a stain block.
Then have Esther pick out a color and get the best Sherwin.
They don't have those brands here, Linda.
No.
I wish I could. I wish there was a home.
Thank you, Andrew. You guys are a lovely couple. Grazia. Okay. Janet wants to know, I can't get my head around why you can't use the heating system until November if you're paying the bill. What's the problem?
The law. You have to understand here that there are laws and there are laws. Okay.
And on top of that, there are, every community has a different law or interpretation.
Right. So that's how it goes. We are an energy dependent nation. We're not an exporter of energy, okay? We have very few, if any, that I know of, nuclear power plants. I can't think of one. Maybe there is one someplace. We have no dams to speak of. I mean, what's considered to be a dam over here is like a little waterfall 8 feet high. There's no dams over here. So as a result, we have to pay for importation of energy.
This is a good question.
So we get,
Angelo says, why don't they do geothermal energy in Italy with all the volcanoes, especially Sicily? Seems like a no-brainer.
Angelo, would you think to be a no-brainer? Nobody has any brains over here. It's just crazy. This is Italy, okay? It's
Talk about the windmills.
50% socialist, okay? So what is the problem? Everybody says it's Rome's problem. It's Rome's problem. So when you have that large of percentage of the population on the dole, okay, they're going to be guaranteed whatever it is they get guaranteed. There is no desire to innovate, okay? Like Horatio Alger and all those guys that were capitalists, doesn't work here. It doesn't work here.
There are some people working on that, right? We had Professor Rosario Baracci on a few months ago. He's a professor of economics and business at the University of Catania, and he spoke about innovation and starting to get businesses up. But you're right. There's so many. He even said there's so much bureaucracy, so much red tape. Opening up a business here, opening up anything here takes a long, long time, which is very sad.
That said,
wait a second.
There's a very vibrant black market economy, okay, that is hidden. They're always trying to grab it. Sometimes they do. But really, you know,
Pat, the answer is
you can't
yes.
do it. You can't do it any other way. If I was in a business, I mean, not that I have a business here, but if I did, I'd be out of my mind. I would be even more bald than I am right now. Believe me.
Old. Okay.
Yes, they do have wood.
Yes, they do.
They do have wood. But to find wood, Pat, there's no forest here. The forests were all cut down by the Spanish and the Romans, okay?
Okay, so
you
this
have
is
new
this is
growth.
what I wanted you to talk about. Remember driving from Palermo and I entered, there were a lot of wind turbines, but did you see any of them moving?
The wind turbines, all right?
Someone
that was a
didn't plug
mafia.
it in.
Yeah, that was a
They're
mafia
just sitting
scam.
there.
There was a scam, okay? They took tens of millions of euro to build them. They
they're
aren't
just
hooked
there.
up to the grid. Now they can't dispose of them.
Did you make your own cuddura?
Oh my God! I bet you hers are good.
I bet you hers was really
I bet you
good.
they were good.
And
Send me a picture, Stefania.
you're late, but nice
Send
to
me a
see
picture,
you
Stefania,
here.
okay?
I want to see hers. We talked about so much already, Amice. So when we're done here, scroll through the beginning because we talked about everything traditional with a
wrap it
comma.
up, is it 51?
No, I think we should. Let's save that. This is too good. Let's save that.
All right, Jimmy. I researched the 5 popes.
Yeah.
There were 5 popes in Sicily. 2 of them were Byzantinian popes, but 3 of them were Sicilian popes. 2 of them from Palermo, 1 was from Etna. We'll save it till next week because I researched. I thought there was 2, but there was 5. But out of the 5, 2 of them were Byzantinian. You know what a Byzantine pope was? That's the Greek Orthodox.
Greek Orthodox.
Greek
Those
Orthodox.
are the ones that
But I
are
want to
in
explain
Piana and the
that.
Albanese. They're also the
I want to
ones
explain the tension between Constantinople
you know
and
what
Rome.
was really nice in Mezzogiusto, the episode we did a few months ago, is that the Greek Orthodox Christian church is right next to the Roman Latin. And that is so beautiful to see those 2 religions coexisting. But of course, this is Sicily. You know, there was a time when the Jews, the Arabs, the Christians all worked and lived together. So this is wait a second.
All right.
So, I mean, there's something to be said about that coexistence here in Sicily. What was the time that we saw the Jewish quarters right next
Marsala
to
di Vala? No.
Yes,
yeah,
Marsala di Vala.
Listen, folks. You're tuning in and listening to us talking because, you know, I've lived here for a long time. I want to give you the unvarnished truth about living in Sicily. It's not all, you know, eating cannolis and going to pizzerias and having elegant times over magnificent vistas. We're talking about the nuts and bolts of, you know, everyday living here, okay? And we have a good frame of reference because, you know, I lived in the United States of America. I had a beautiful place in the United States of America. I own plenty of property in the United States of America, and now I'm here, okay? I love it here. Don't get me wrong. And you would love it here, too, if you lived here. Why? Because my gene pool is here. I feel complete here, okay?
I have 0% Sicilian, and I feel home. And
That said,
here.
The bureaucracy here, it's just bad.
It's bad.
It's bad. So you have to come here and you have to know, eyes wide open, okay? And
you have to have a professional with you, right? A Sicilian or Italian with you when you're doing very important business.
I tell her, I have my own lawyer. I never go anyplace without my lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer, right? I don't want to deal with that crap. I have an accountant here. I don't want to deal with that crap, and neither does she.
Right. I've learned that lesson a long time ago.
You put that in your budget, you know, professional fees, 2,000, 3,000 euro a year just to deal with that crap.
Luigi, I don't know if I'm saying it's right.
Luigi,
what type of business would you like to see in Sicily startup? I'm actually going to
from where? Wait a minute.
I'm going
to
post the video we did with Professor Baracci because he had this whole thing about made in Sicily, having those types of startups.
Yeah, but where's Luigi from? What kind of a business are you going to? I mean, What kind of a business? Do you live in Sicily? Do you want to come here? If you want to come to Sicily, you better bring, the one thing that you need to bring is money.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not gonna be able to start a business up for $10,000. And by the way, you can't start an import company up going from, you want to import stuff from the from Italy to the United States for 10 grand. Forget about it. You'll go out of business before you're in business. Okay.
Well, let's say
Don't do it.
I'm a Sicilian American moving to Sicily soon, is what he said.
What kind of skills? Listen,
well,
I don't know
that's
what kind
a
of skills.
private.
I couldn't give him advice.
Listen, why don't you message us, Esther and Alfred? By the way, did you guys know we also have a Facebook page, You, Me, and Sicily? So I don't want to forget that. Michael Costello from Sola della Femmina is here. Now, Peter Schipoletti asked a very important, hey, Stefania, Professor Faraci, he was my teacher. We had him on the show. We love Professor.
He's a good friend of mine,
Faraci. He's a good friend of ours. Do you remember how we met him together in Acitrezza?
Right.
We were in Acitrezza doing our bump, right? Like we used to on or we do on our shows, and he heard us speaking, and a friendship started, right? Him and his wife Agatha. So back to Peter Schipoletti's point, which is very, very good. So if you guys are watching us on Palm Sunday, next week is Easter. So give us an idea, Saturday or Sunday, which would be better. Same time, same bad place.
Saturday.
Oh, he says Saturday.
I like Saturday.
Okay.
This way Sunday, you can just,
Well, we'll see. Thank you as always. So much fun from the chats to help me prepare for my move. Awesome.
It's fun. You can do it, but have your eyes wide open.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. He is going to message us. Very good. All right. So let us know Saturday or Sunday.
Jimmy. Love you, Jimmy Ingram. God bless you.
Comment. Joe Assioni says
Saturday.
Yeah, that was good. So, okay. All right. We'll do Saturday. All right. So if you guys missed it, we posted a Palm Sunday video last week. We also posted Bagheria. Aspra was before that. So we still have a lot coming. And what are we doing this week? Well, it'll be a surprise.
Stuff that's falling from the walls all week.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
I'm going to eat the cookie.
Don't break your teeth.
What?